why, because then you can apply it then to a lot of different colors or techniques. It just makes more sense. So when you're thinking about like your eye shape and kind of where everything sits and what you want to do with it, you want to remember that light things come forward and dark things recede. So the more darkness you put around your eye, the smaller it's going to look, and it's, you know, more dramatic and kind of that sexy set back eye. You know, the more light that you're putting in certain areas, the farther it's going to come out. So if most people just do that light under their brow bone and, you know, maybe dark around along their lash line, depending on your eye shape, if you've got like, and I do, I have a little bit more like puffiness right here. So if I were to highlight that and then darken the inside, that mine are a little bit set back, it's only going to further exaggerate my eye shape, which isn't what I necessarily want to do, because this kind of would then end up looking like it's puffier than it really is, and then my eyes would look smaller than they really are. So you want to think about, like, you can still use dark in areas, but you want to think about where. So we want to give lift, we want to give like all these things. So we're going to start by putting on a base. So if you're putting shadows at all, it's really good to invest in like a good eyeshadow base. Urban Decay has a really good like clear one. I like MAC because they've got some ones that have like a color tint to them, so you can kind of skip steps. You know, something like that that will hold your shadow. Your foundation won't hold your shadow. It doesn't usually have like the right ingredients that prevent it from creasing, so I find that investing in just a big shadow would be good.
I didn't even know that existed.
Same here. I didn't even know there was a
So-
shadow factor.
And you can get it in different colors. So this is one from MAC, and it's called Sublime Nature. It's just like it's got a little bit of a color to it, so it's almost going to double as a shadow color. So if she just did this in the area where we want to do it, and then put like a highlighter shadow, so like a shade lighter than her skin, over, then it would look like she already had like eyeshadow on too.
Oh, wow.
So it's a base and shadow kind
I like
of one.
that.
So it depends on the colors that you want to get. You can get nude ones. So if
You're
you're
selling
really
these products as you're talking.
Yeah, really.
You
You
know
know, on
what?
daily workout TV.
when I things that I love,
There you go. Oh, by the way,
they want to know that it works,
Jenny's
right?
gonna
Like
be
I would
promoting
never
your
try
site.
to like encourage people to buy something that I haven't tried
I
myself.
agree.
It's really it doesn't
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah, she wrote it down. She's going to be telling all her clients.
So you can just use your finger to put this type of product on here. I'll pass it around. You guys can look at it or try it.
Yep. Pins. What is that? Sorry, pins?
Oh, yeah.
So this kind of product, less is more. That little squeeze tube would probably last you a good year or so.
Really?
Because you are using, literally, like if you try it, like if you open it and just squeeze a very small amount, how far it goes. Because you want like a sheer coating.
Yeah.
We're not like trying to pack this on, we're just doing a sheer coating. So you could pick one that has like more of a nude like skin tone or even a bit lighter if you wanted to brighten your eyes more. Either that or something nude like that would be better than starting with a dark one, because if you're trying to be minimal. And then the heat of your finger will always blend it in better than doing it with a brush. So I'm using a brush because it's more sanitary and it's easier for a demo, but if you're at home, I'll like swipe a little bit off and then separate it between my two fingers so it's even, and then go in and just like place it. And if you have too much on your finger, you can switch to a clean finger and then buff it out.
So you put it on the whole.
So you do the whole lid. So, but I start by doing like the center, and then I kind of like radiate it out like a sunset, just kind of like fading it. And then for here, I'm gonna give it here. For a second.
Eyeshadow base.
They call if you it's called paint. It's called paint at MAC. They come in either like a squeeze tube like that or a pot, and they're about honestly about like $22, but it lasts forever. So.
Oh, yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So because this one has a little bit of color to it,
See her.
we're gonna bring it up. It'll
It's
the
easy
other
spending $100 at Sephora.
the great thing about this too is that it'll even out any reddiness on your lids. So like usually most people have like a bit of reddiness or pink or purple, something that then if you don't put a base on and then you just go over with your eyeshadow, that little bit of color is gonna start peeking through. And if the shadow doesn't apply evenly, it'll just start looking kind of like model. So it's like painting a canvas. Like there's one called Untitled or Bare Canvas, and it makes sense because when you paint a canvas, it then evens out the whole texture, and then you can go in and blend colors. So it's the same idea as like putting a primer over top. You know, the primer is the same thing when you get a primer for your face. Like it's got a bit of silicone in it, and that's what kind of adheres and holds your products on and kind of creates this like boundary so that the oiliness or any moisture from your lid doesn't come through and mess up your face product or eye product or whatever it is. So that's why like a small amount, if you use too much, like too much of a face primer, your makeup will just fall off. It's not, there's too much silicone almost on there.
So everyone's here is going, what's a primer?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Anyway, so for her that we wanna pull up a little bit, I'm feeding a little bit of that brown up a little bit on the outside, because when you look straight, we want this area right here to kind of set back a little bit, because if we just highlight that area, it's just going to look puffy. So I want to bring up that little bit of brown, and you can just bring it with your finger, kind of up like there. Now when we start working in that outer crease area, you want to think about a boundary, because you want to know like how far you can go. So for you, from the outside of your eyebrow to the outside of your eye, like your actual eye, it's about your border. So we don't want any coming down or anything underneath here. Because we want it lifted.
Yeah.
From where your lashes, like when you look straight at yourself, your lashes curve out, right? You want the shadow, and unless your lashes go straight down, but generally there's usually a bit of a curve. You want the shadow and everything to be kind of lifted and sit behind that and emphasize your lashes. So like liner, we don't want liner coming down here if your lashes are sitting up here. We want, the shadow not to be coming down here if your lashes are kind of like more lifting up. We don't want like straight up shadow, but we want definitely like that kind of shape.
Right.
Does that make sense? So even just that like base just gives a little bit of depth.
Yeah.
We didn't bring it right to the inside of the eye because we don't want to darken that area. We're going to use a light shadow in there. But just,
What a difference. You can tell, like, just looking, like, that's amazing.
it's like getting an eye lift because then
It just took, like, a few years off, yeah. Really, that's
you're going to
good.
be 10 by the time. You're going to be like,
That'd be awesome.
it's all about the tricks. Because my dad has eyes like they're like drooping over. I'm like, I'm probably, this is my future. So it's all about the tricks to kind of like lift
Make it
and,
go away.
and change the shape. Brows are going to be another big thing that once we put some like define your brows a bit, whoa, age, like it just like the ears just drop off. That's ridiculous.
Really?
Because it's one thing that as you get older, your brows start to like lighten or change. Like they definitely. So when you've
so
got a
long
darker
now.
hair,
Yeah,
they
they're
right.
They're
Yeah.
disappearing now. But
Mine
I
did
just
not.
had my makeup done in Seattle.
She does,
They
yeah.
did a brow pencil.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I just felt like it was so made up. Like it just looked so artificial.
Did it? Yeah, you would need a pencil though, because you've already got hair there. So like a brow gel or possibly a shadow would be better.
Oh, okay.
So I'll explain that one.